All right, welcome back to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment, a series dedicated to helping you with advanced tactics in Bannerlord. We're going to help you destroy the enemy using tactics that maybe the beginning level player can't handle, but certainly the intermediate level player should be able to handle. In fact, this particular series is aimed at intermediate level players. Very briefly, I'm going to discuss my campaign, and then we'll get into a battle with the Western Empire here. I'm sort of pinned into this small portion of the map, and the enemies have been hammering on me from all three sides, basically. And so I've decided to change strategies, make a foray, a campaign into the Southern Empire, and really try to damage their financial capacity to wage war. Right? We've already sacked. That's the military term for it. The Bannerlord term for it is devastate. We've devastated 3 of their cities. 2 of them we still own, Oneira and Vostrum. And right now the Western Empire is sieging one of these cities that we already took. So the campaign is diverted off kind of into an aggressive counterattack. I've got other armies that are also down here attacking. It's getting very, very messy in the homeland. In fact, another castle just got lit up by the enemy. I'm probably going to have to race back there, in the upcoming week or so of gameplay. But for now, we're going to defend this castle and show you how to use advanced tactics to destroy a large force. The force is larger than ours, but not so much as that this is going to be an extremely difficult battle. Like you're probably getting used to, I'm running player damage at 50%. Just in case, I take a lot of damage and he gets knocked from his horse, you won't learn much if that happens. So I will be using slow-mo extensively, especially because they're just throwing us into this battle, right? This happens a lot with siege reliefs. Fortunately, the enemy is 3,600 units away, right? So I'm going to be using slow-mo to give instruction in this battle and also to explain my unit formations here. Normally, I get time to select captains and stuff like that for the units. Right here, they're just throwing us into battle and not giving us time to do that. Also, strategically, I'll tell you what we're planning to do in this battle. We're planning to set up effectively a flank attack of both infantry and archers. Right, we're going to have an infantry division supporting an archer division on both flanks with our cavalry harassing, which should really give the enemy difficulty. Right, it's not as difficult a tactics as you can pull off against an army like this, but it will certainly be sufficient to decrease their chances of winning. Right? So the first thing I'm doing is I'm spreading my archers out. Right? So I'm taking my 5th archers and dragging them in a big long line on this flank. The 6th infantry, which are skirmishers, will protect them. You see the long line there? Then the next thing I'm going to do is take my cavalry in shield wall, and I'm ordering them to come up and effectively meet their cavalry divisions for battle, right? You select the cavalry, click on the units, they're in shield wall to absorb some of these arrows, and then they're charging, right? While that's happening, what I'm doing with that, it's not an offensive attack, I'm buying time. I want my other infantry, look at this beautiful hill here. My other infantry is going to hold that line right there, and we're going to put the 4th infantry. Now, for those that normally watch my channel, they know that my 8th corps is usually my elite corps. Because I don't have an 8th corps here, I'm only running 7. In this case, the 4th corps has most of my elite units. The horse archers are still charging, the horse archers are still following me, and we'll do a little skirmishing here. I'm going to try not to kill half the army with my character like I do in some battles. You're not here to watch a guy run around a rampage. You're here to learn some tactics. But in some circumstances, I'm going to have not much choice, and it's also instinct, right? I see the enemy and I just want to cut through him with my axe. So we're just skirmishing right now. Our cavalry is not making an attack in earnest, not until our forces are set up, right? One of the keys to warfare is to attack in a coordinated manner, right? So we're moving our infantry into shield wall, which again, if you're still learning, you select the unit. In this case, it's the 6th. I'm spreading them out a little bit more. And then you hit F2 twice, right? And they bring their shields up. What that's going to do is that's going to absorb a lot more arrows. Meanwhile, you see my archers behind them are just firing away, right? They're being harassed here from the sides. That's all right. Here come the cavalry for another charge. So one of the things that we can often do in the cavalry charges is just support the archers and infantry. We're concentrating our attack, right? They're having to run through infantry, but they're also being shot full of arrows by our archers, right? So the enemy effectively here is attacking us with 1 unit while we attack them with 3, right? That's the whole point of concentrated fire. We're also going to use that on the attacking side of things, right? Again, you should be working on things like your javelin throwing. Anytime the enemy's in a huge mass like that, you almost can't miss. Right? You can miss. Some battles I miss a lot, but that's where you want to be throwing them. Again, these horse archers, right? They're behind our forces, so I'm selecting my cavalry and basically telling them to kill only those troops, right? It's a specific target for those troops. If my archers are being shot full of arrows, if they're having cavalry run them over, you can see this cavalry is just kind of like running right through. These archers, instead of shooting, they're out here swinging their axes. They're trying to deal with this enemy archer, horse archer corps. You don't want that. You want your archers shooting unimpeded. Of course, you don't. Your archers are going to get killed. Your archers are going to take damage. You want to try to prevent the enemy from interrupting your archers, right? Now, meanwhile, the enemy, again, they're sort of turtled up down there. They're in a very defensive format. They likely have a shield wall in the front. And so, again, that's why we're going to be flanking. The next step, now that they've sort of positioned where they are, is we're going to fuck with their shield wall, right? Their shield wall is facing our lines of infantry sort of loosely. We're going to try to change that. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 6th Infantry and we're going to bring it way over here. Right, they're up on that hill. We're going to bring them over here towards this flank. Now, while that's happening, those guys are moving now. I'm using my cavalry. I'm actually going to place them right in front of them. Right, a big long line here of cavalry. And I've ordered them into a shield wall. Right? The purpose of that is simply to help prevent some of these arrows from reaching my troops that are moving around. Right? My troops are moving. They're vulnerable. You see them over there moving? Right? You can see all my archers are running. While that's happening, this cavalry wave is now in a big long line. Look at that. You can see it in slow-mo. This cavalry line here is protecting all your guys that are running across there, right? The infantry's coming up behind. You're not protecting the infantry as much, but you definitely want to try to protect your archers, okay? This infantry is sort of skirmishing. Let them skirmish, right? The main body of their enemies is kind of still here in the middle, and they're a little bit panicked now. The enemy does not like being flanked. It doesn't deal with it very well. It's having a rough time with dealing with it. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to use our 3rd Cavalry. I'm sending my 3rd Cavalry and the 7th Cavalry, those are horse archers, across the valley, right? I'm also going to move these guys closer. They're kind of too far away to really impact the battle. Right? So these archers are moving up. The enemy's still kind of in the middle here. They're actually getting reinforcements already because the flank has been so effective. Now this cavalry no longer needs to block, right? The enemy's actually peeling back. So what we're going to do is drag that 2nd Cavalry behind us, right? Moving this infantry up. And that archers, that 5th archer, I'm also moving them in. You can kind of see what I'm doing. You can tell probably. I'm essentially pinning the enemy in here. I'm hemming them in on at least 2 sides. And with an eventual cavalry attack, it's going to be 3 sides, right? I'm moving all of my cavalry over into that corner of the map. You know, they're being pursued, but that's fine. These are lower level cavalry. It's kind of a heartless attack anyways. They don't seem to have much enthusiasm. They probably know that defeat is imminent. They've heard the rumor. These guys are still getting smoked by arrows. Their archers are trying to move up. They're getting smoked. Ours, meanwhile, are protected, right? So this 6th Infantry, again, we're moving them up further, and we're moving our archers up even closer. So that side's moving closer. This side's moving closer. 1st Infantry's there. Now, it's really bad AI. They should not just be letting me continue to do this. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'm having all of the cavalry units follow me. Right? I want the enemy pinned there a little bit longer. If you want, you can get fancy and tell them to get in skein formation, right, which is F2, F6, and I'm just going to drive them right through this line here. There'll be some losses, right? The enemy's kind of thickly packed in there, but the purpose of this is, again, to cause more chaos, to interrupt more archers, to just kind of cause chaos in their front line. Some of their archers will be running. You can see the arrows of our allies are just raining death in there. And if they're running, they're not shooting, right? So the enemy is getting shot at. They're being hemmed in. They're not shooting at us. It's a very bad result for the enemy, okay? So last step, right? So last step is next. I'm sending our cavalry again to this far side. 2nd, 3rd, and 7th Cavalry are all sent over there. This infantry, I'm telling them to advance. It says close in on the command, but what it is F1 and F4. Our archers are still lighting them up, right? So there's no reason to do anything with those guys. This side, though, the infantry's starting to attack, we attack. This line of skirmishers, you attack, and this archer corps, a lot of the guys are standing there, they're out of arrows. So they attack as well. Now, it's going to happen quickly, but when I tell them to attack, I'm going to have the cavalry attack on the other side. Now, the enemy is being attacked at this stage by 3 different sides, right? The cavalry is going to come on here right up its ass, and they're being shot at. Here comes the 1st infantry on this flank, right? And the enemy is effectively sandwiched, right? They're being hit on 2 or 3 different sides. The archers are still down here in the valley. If you want, you can drag the archers right up into the fight, too. In fact, we will dismount and assist. More reinforcements are coming in. Yeah, no more shooting for you. Shield. When I run with the two-handed, I like to grab a shield at some point. I think I grabbed the wrong thing. I'm famous for doing that. I think I grabbed like some ammunition or something like that. So you can see the screen at this stage. The enemy's hemmed in on 3 sides. Reinforcements came in, but they came in right into the thick of this attack. And they're effectively pinned just like the rest of their troops, right? They are being hit from 2 or 3 different sides. And it's not going well. It's probably a little easier to see. Unfortunately, the battle here is kind of in the trees. It's not particularly easy to see what's happening. But the enemy is effectively, I got no idea. I don't know how well this is going to work. I've never done this before in mid-battle. But the enemy is being kind of attacked in 3 different directions. That's one of my archer corps right there, right directly in the center of the screen. The enemy's in here. The infantry are on both sides, right? There's infantry there, and there's infantry over here. Yeah, it's a very bad spot with the trees to try to show you exactly what's happening. And then the last infantry, or the last archer corps is right there. They're marching also right into the fray. I think there's another reinforcement wave coming. We're actually going to pull back just to give you one more demonstration of all of this. I'll probably suffer some losses on this this little maneuver. If you're in mid-combat, it's really never a good idea to pull your forces out, right? You want to keep those guys fighting, because as soon as you start to pull them away, well, the enemy starts slashing and hacking with their own weapons, right? The enemy is not completely inept, just kind of inept. Love slow-motion kills. Alright, so we're going to let the enemy reform here. In a real battle, I would not. I would just go in and completely decimate him. When you have pressure applied to the enemy, don't stop. Just keep it going, right? The enemy, if they've lost their momentum, it's really hard for them to regain it. Right? So 4th Archers, again spreading out here. Infantry in front. And I'm sending the cavalry divisions over onto that flank. Part of the reason I'm doing that is because they're in my way here. The cavalry will frequently get in your way. Now look where the enemy is. They are sort of tucked into the woods there. I had a request by a user to deal with an enemy in their turtle. Well, this enemy is perfectly turtling, right? They're like in the woods. They're kind of hard to access. And we're going to have to come over that ridge to fight them. Well, in theory, you're going to have to come over that ridge. We're not going to do that. We're going to use the side here. Right? I can see him from there. So what I'm doing is I'm going to move this whole flank all the way over to the side. It's almost behind the enemy, right? So infantry corps there, and that 4th Archer Corps sort of right behind him. Meanwhile, in that other open area where we can sort of plainly see the enemy, we're going to have our 6th Infantry lead the way. Right, the enemy's right there, supported by cavalry in the front. And the reason we're supporting cavalry in front here is because there's really bad line of sight. What I mean by that for this case is that we have to kind of run through this little valley where the enemy can really light us up with arrows. So we're switching those forces to shield wall, those cavalry, and they're effectively going to be our linebackers. Think of it like a football game. They're going to take damage, right? These horses are getting shot at. You see all the arrows flying through there. But we're doing that so that the troops have a clear line of path to come to grips with the enemy, right? On this side, I'm moving these units closer, right? We're going to kill a few cavalry here. Or maybe I'll get killed. Now the enemy is actually, for once, sort of taking the offensive. They're kind of hemmed in. Their archers look like they made like a false charge. At this stage, all we're doing is moving our units in systematically. Right? We are slowly tightening the noose. Cavalry forces leading, infantry forces coming up, and I'm going to move the archers. I'm actually going to position the archers like right at the enemy. Again, my 4th Corps, that's the strongest side. That's my strongest units. I'm actually pushing them through the enemy, right, all the way through. I'm telling them to go all the way over, you can see, to the other side of the battle. Right? And then all you do is when the units get close, the cavalry attack. The infantry coming over the ridge there, they attack. And your other infantry attack. Meanwhile, now look at these guys running. So these archers here are trying to run. They're trying to gain, you know, a little distance. Send that 4th Corps right after them. Right? The 4th Corps is my fastest units. You can see the screen is all death. The enemy is just completely massacred. Most of them are fleeing. The 4th Corps are my fastest units. Those are the guys that can get to that other side of that battle the fastest. Right? They're the ones that are going to be able to move and charge over there. And they're just, it's a massacre. The enemy got like 1 kill out of 50 there. More reinforcements are coming in. So when more reinforcements come in, you can concentrate your forces again. These forces are too close, so just pull them back. You don't have to pull them back all the way. You're just going to be pulling them back like for 30 seconds. So your other forces can move up. We can actually give them the order to charge at this stage. And at this stage, you know, hopefully that's enough tactical evidence for you to see that, you know, in this case, killing the turtle that's in their shell is not too hard. We're just going to give the old F1, F3. You know, this enemy is thoroughly routed. They're actually running in fear. And this battle is over. Believe it or not, they have another reinforcing force. You would think these infantry would tell the other guys, hey, you don't want to go in there, man. Get your asses out of here. You guys should be heading to the tavern. But they don't. A lot of times, they'll just keep coming. Here, we'll be to the end of this battle. We'll play it out. So I'm sending cavalry over here just to sort of deal with their cavalry. Sometimes just having cavalry in their face will sort of distract those units. I've also pulled my 4th Corps over to this side for potential flank in case this enemy does want to fight this last little sad wave. And then we're going to send everybody in on the old F1, F3. You can see the 4th infantry, or the 4th archers right there. I'm moving over to the flank. I got myself hemmed in here by some horse meat. Talking about you, bud. Enemy did choose to fight, but again, they're not only at this stage are they lower units, but you know, again, because we suffered so few losses, most of our best troops are still alive. And what that does is it creates for just a massacre situation at this point of the game. Right? At this point in the battle, they've got a bunch of extremely low-level archers taking shots at our 4th Corps and a bunch of experienced veterans. It's not really a battle at this stage. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed watching. You can see up there from the statistics that we lost something like 100 men against an army force of 2,800. They're getting some kills here at the end while I'm just sort of lackadaisically looking at the stats. But hopefully this is a pretty good example to you of how, even with intermediate level tactics, without you know, totally overwhelming yourself with different commands, you can defeat a larger force. Please subscribe if you're interested in more of these channels. Like, comment, all those kinds of things. It draws more people to the channel. That'll give us more people that can exchange tactics with us. I'm still learning myself, and hopefully all of us can get a lot better at this fun game. All right? I'll catch you next time.